Imagine you're living an unbothered life, and you suddenly receive a notice that what is awaiting you 8 years into the future is utter destruction.
This is the reality of Hirasawa Kazuki. He is an ordinary Japanese university student that you can find anywhere.
There is nothing special about him, and he has no particularly redeeming qualities. So why is it that he is standing in front of a peculiar mirror that is trying to pull him into an unknown realm? The scenery in front of him suddenly changes and his worst nightmare turns into reality. He analyzes his surroundings and deduces that he is standing in a royal house. Something about the sight of a maid getting ruthlessly beaten seems oddly familiar to him.
That's when he realizes.
This is a scenario from a game called Brave Hearts. It is a stereotypical fantasy RPG where the protagonist, Liner, stops an evil scheme that could have led to the destruction of the world. Hirasawa admits that the game is so immersive that he has lost track of how many times he has played it. He practically memorized all the lines in the events, and that is why he's sure that the person standing beside him is Hayden, the head of the Stokes family. Other members present in the room are Jessica, Hayden's wife, and Clara, their servant. Hirasawa knows everyone and everything that is going on around him, so nothing seems unfamiliar to him. But this fact still doesn't comfort him at all. The question that keeps bothering him is where he was and what he did right before he ended up here.
There is another reason why he's so worried right now.
As far as he can recall, what is about to unfold in front of his eyes is the most depressing event in the entire game. In the Brave Hearts game, this is one of the flashback events where the mother of the main heroine, Clara, is executed by the oldest son of the Stokes family, Harold. But the question is, where is Harold? Hirasawa's memory tells him that, in this scene, Harold should be in the arms of his worried mother. Suddenly, Jessica's hands on his head and shoulders start making sense to him. He looks up at her and she seems to be glaring at Clara. He tells himself that this can't be true. He rudely pushes Jessica away, but she just smiles in return. Then she said something, which pierced through his heart like a bullet. She refers to him as Harold and tells him that there is no need to worry anymore. Hayden, Harold's dad, grabs his sword and is about to decapitate Clara, when Hirasawa, aka Harold, stops him. With a smile on his face, he requests his father to allow him the pleasure of executing her.
It's like Hirasawa has absolutely no control over Harold's body. It moves and says things on its own.
He claims that he has learned this new magic recently and would like to make Clara her training dummy instead of allowing her to stay in the room with her inferior blood. His father is proud of his response and orders Clara to be thrown into the dungeon. It looks like Clara is a half-breed and her kind is really hated in the community because they are considered inferior. The voices get muffled for Hirasawa and he's having a hard time accepting that he is in the body of Harold Stokes, the most hated character in the game, due to his heinous and arrogant nature.
That's not even the worst part. Harold is doomed to die at the hands of the last boss, but is he even capable of changing that fate?
His body and his tongue move on their own, just like what happens in every Brave Hearts gameplay.
Hirasawa meets his butler, Norman.
As far as he remembers, out of all of the characters, Norman is considered the most sensible. He asks Harold, aka Hirasawa, if he's feeling alright and needs his help. Harold, being the snob that he is, disregards Norman. Still, the butler requests him to lighten the punishment of Clara, whose life or death depends on Harold's decision. According to the story, Clara is incinerated to death by Harold's magic.
Having no more relatives, Clara's daughter Colette gets kicked out of Stokes' territory.
From that point onwards, the protagonist, Liner, and his family take care of her. Hirasawa knows that if he rescues Clara, he will deviate from the original story where he eventually encounters Liner. He decides to use Harold in such a way that will help him in avoiding death flags.
However, he also knows that he can't make huge deviations from the storyline.
This way, he might end up dying from a development, which doesn't even exist in the storyline. He wants to tell Norman that he wants to save Clara, but Harold's body only gives a bratty response, which only earns him more hate points. There's a high possibility that if he dies here, he might never be able to return to the real world.
Hirasawa knows better than to cry over spilled milk.
He gets up and starts reading every book he can find in Harold's room. The only thing he can do now is gain as much knowledge about the world as he can.
Hirasawa is led to the dungeon by one of his knights.
He orders him to guard the entrance. The receptionist is caught lacking, and he's shocked to see Harold-sama in the dungeon himself.
However, Hirasawa doesn't respond and makes his way downstairs. He asks Clara about her daughter and confirms if all the information he remembers is correct or not.
She affirms that Colette is her only daughter, and her husband died of an illness 3 years ago. When Clara begs him to spare her life, Hirasawa feels like bawling his eyes out. But Harold, the spoiled brat, cusses at her and leaves.
Still, Hirasawa has started to make some progress, and he's proud of that. He arranges a meeting with Norman, who brings a map of Stokes' territory with all the information regarding settlements located in the territory. When Hirasawa asks how he plans on saving the servant, Norman responds that the best option is to relocate her outside of Stokes' territory. Hirasawa calculates that to pursue this plan, they will need to get some laborers and taxpayers on their side. For Harold, this is no biggie, and Hirasawa is planning to use that to his advantage. Norman recommends that they should help her in fleeing to the Blowish village. Hirasawa knows that this is where the Liner family lives. If they were to follow through with this plan, Harold would be doing something good in this timeline, and the original story of Colette and Liner meeting would still be preserved. Norman suggests that it would be impossible for Clara and her daughter to survive with 0 possessions in an unfamiliar land. Hirasawa analyzes and writes down everything Clara and Colette might need on their journey. Norman is shocked to see this caring side of Harold. He is even shocked to realize that Harold is familiar with and concerned about Clara's daughter. Norman is an intelligent character. He quickly deduces that something is up, and Harold is not acting like himself. He believes that Harold claimed to use Clara as his magic test subject, just so she could be isolated in a secure location. In his eyes, all this time Harold has been trying his best to save Clara. This pumps him up to give the mission his best shot for Harold's sake. Norman believes that it doesn't matter who the person inside Harold is. He just knows that he is the last ray of hope to change the Stokes family for the better. The next day, Hirasawa finds an abandoned place and practices magic. His jaw drops to the floor when he sees flames emerging from his hand. Although he admits that the chanting part is very embarrassing, he is still getting hyped up. He knows that what he's capable of doing right now is nothing compared to Harold's magic ability in the game. Right now, Hirasawa has 2 aims in mind. He wants to allow Clara to escape, but he also wants to make it look like she was burned to death by his flames. He is extra careful right now because this isn't a game anymore, and Clara isn't just some pixels on the screen. She is a real human being that he must save. Failure is not an option for him. He plans to carry out his mission that night. The sun has set, and the sky is taken over by a blanket of stars. It's time for Hirasawa to carry out his mission. With the help of Norman, he takes Clara to her daughter, Colette. He tells them that they only have 2 options. One is to die, and the other is to leave the place and sever ties with anyone they've ever known. It is interesting to see that Hirasawa is still speaking in Harold's arrogant tone. He claims that it would be much easier for him to just kill off both of them. For some reason, Colette seems to be blushing a lot. In the original storyline, she was supposed to meet Liner first, but in this timeline, she is meeting Harold first. He rolls his eyes and gives Colette a necklace, and makes her promise that she will never take it off. Hirasawa tells her to give the necklace to a man who is her age and is willing to protect her. Colette obviously has no clue what is going on. Harold summons his guard and tells him to bring the wagon for Clara and her daughter. He warns them that if anything were to find out or if the plan was to fail, everyone's life would become non-existent. After everyone leaves at his order, Hirasawa tries to recall how Clara had gotten on Stokes' hit list in the first place. Apparently, Harold was the cause of all the commotion. He bumped into her while she was watering a flower bed and got all muddy after falling down. It was such a stupid incident that Hirasawa feels embarrassed for being Harold. He shakes his head and prepares himself for his final duty. Meanwhile, Norman is walking away while thinking about Harold's new calm, gentle, and caring demeanor. Suddenly, a loud noise stops him in his tracks. Harold starts laughing out loud like a maniac and starts saying dialogues from his original storyline. He uses his magic spell to destroy the entire forest. Soon, Hirasawa takes over and realizes that he automatically adopts behavior from the original timeline. He takes a breath of relief with the assumption that Norman has already left. He wouldn't want anyone to see him laughing and talking to himself about Clara like an ultimate sadist. He turns around to find that Norman is still standing there. He makes his butler swear that he will take whatever he just saw to his grave. Norman just assumes that Harold is mentally ill and doesn't want anyone to find out. He assumes that Harold is mentally ill because he has always persisted with a lonely battle as he treats his true parents like poor role models. The guards were commanded to leave Clara and Colette on the Blosh village and have one soldier take the wagon to Leeds. He had also ordered the guards to give Clara some gold coins, which he took from his severance pay. Back in the present, Clara smiles as she catches glimpses of her new village. The sun rises and so does her hope for freedom. And this is all thanks to Hirasawa. Harold is having a business meeting with Norman, Zen, and his financial advisor. He shows him a copy of the statement of revenues and expenses that he drafted. He asks him if there are any major errors in the statement. He looks confused and goes through the document again. The advisor reaffirms his stance that there are in fact no errors in it. Harold starts laughing as if trying to mock him.
He reassures him that he didn't call him to cause trouble or anything. When he doesn't give a response, he explains that for the last few years, the Stokes family finances have been sinking into the red. The biggest reason is his parents' extravagant lifestyle. They have been using the family's inheritance and the taxes to compensate for that, but that too will not be able to last. As a result, it is an increasing burden on the citizens. The financial advisor agrees by stating that people who had to close down their farms due to financial difficulty have also been increasing. Harold declares that this is a state of emergency, and at this rate, eventually, the Stokes family will collapse. In order to prevent bankruptcy, Harold suggests increasing returns from the agricultural sector. Jake is also the inspector of the agriculture sector, and this is why he has been summoned. Harold signals Zen, who has been desperately waiting for his time to shine. He energetically brings Jake a basket of potatoes that are referred to as Red Groot. As soon as Jake tastes it, he is left starstruck. For some reason, Zen feels very proud of that. Harold explains that this is a crop he raised using a proprietary technique, and he needs Jake's help to take it one step further, because he is familiar with the Stokes family finances and lands. With a devilish smile on his face, Harold explains that for his heroic cause, Jake might even anger Hayden, the head of Stokes, and the worst case is that he might even get thrown into the dungeon. Jake is surprised to see how Harold is able to say such stuff lightheartedly. When Jake doesn't refuse, Harold explains the entire LP farming process in which life potions are injected into the crops. He plans to share this with several farmers and begin testing it on portions of fields. The businesses he is planning will be small scale. If successful, he wants to limit the spread of economic disparity between farmers as much as possible. With Red Groot, it usually takes 2 months to be ready for harvest, but by using the LP farming method, it can bear fruit in just a week. Jake is shocked to hear this news. The only problem is that cheap high-quality goods would disrupt the market, crushing the farmers outside of Stokes' territory. If his father, who adores the money, were to catch wind of this, he knows for a fact that he will try to monopolize it. At the end of his speech, Harold stares at his audience and asks them if they enjoy giving stupid looks, or if they were just born that way. Jake admits that he is just caught off guard by all the details he is suddenly sharing. He reminds his squad that he needs advice if something feels a little off. Jake fixes his glasses and comments that Harold was able to discover a groundbreaking cultivation method that surpasses history at such a young age. Norman thinks to himself that Harold doesn't have greed for money or greed and is set on his strong feelings of starving to help the people. He asks his squad if they are willing to become his arms and legs. The Sudara in him kicks in and he claims that if the people don't accept what he is going to propose, then they are just going to die because they are weak. Over the dinner table, Harold's family discusses Harold's marriage partner. They discuss Sumerajai's daughter, and Hirasawa recalls that there was one such character in the original game as well. He realizes that the Miyazama atmosphere must be causing trouble to the Sumerajai, and another light bulb lit up in his megamind. He wants Sumerajai's head, Tatsuki, a compassionate man, to be on his side so he can avoid more death flags. Sometime later, he pays them a visit and meets Erika, the girl who will soon become Liner's comrade and the one he should be most cautious about. Now that things have changed, marrying can be troublesome and can prevent her from meeting Liner and becoming a healer for his party. Even if Hirasawa avoids every death flag, if he can't beat the last boss and the world gets destroyed, everything will be meaningless anyway. He wants Erika to think positively of him, but he doesn't want to overdo it. Tatsuki introduces Harold to his wife and his daughter. Hirasawa is anxious that Harold's mouth might just say something arrogant, but surprisingly he respectfully addresses everyone. However, he notices that Erika looks blank. Everyone leaves the duo to spend some time alone, and Hirasawa braces himself for the do-or-die situation. Erika and Harold are left alone to talk for a bit, therefore they take a walk around the garden where she introduces herself again. Either she is too polite or she is quite nervous to actually strike up a conversation. Harold tries to match her level of politeness when she spots the cherry blossom tree and shows it to him, revealing that it bears the flower that represents the Sumerajai family. She has a whole story up her sleeve regarding this as well and begins to narrate. Starting off 500 years ago, the feudal lord apparently moved to this exact place and bought some seedlings with him, turning it into the symbol of the Sumerajai family. This is certainly different from the cherry blossom that Harold is acquainted with, shocking the young girl because she had no idea that he bothers himself with such information. Well, he explains the chances of the other cherry blossoms being a possible look-alike. Anyway, he doesn't care about something like this, so there's no point in thinking about it too much. Erika misunderstands his point, asking if this means that he's not interested in her family. Her question catches Harold off guard for a bit, even though he is fully aware that she is flawless with her conversations. He has no choice but to tell her to continue making her interpretations, even though he just wanted to change the topic. His response isn't satisfactory to the young girl, who doesn't like him much already, and she has started believing that the boy only wants her family's surname. It might be better for her to hate him with all her heart though, so Harold gets the idea to use some more vulgar lines like this. He mentions that he doesn't need her family's name because his own lineage has noble blood. Plus, her family is the one who came to the Stokes, pitifully crying about their decreasing finances, which surely puts her in the inferior position. His words turn her expression into the scariest one he has ever seen, making him wonder if he has gone too far with his insults. If he continues down this path, then he will surely stay away from his original goal. In order to cause some distractions, he takes out an envelope from his pocket and gives it to the furious girl in front of him, who probably doesn't even want to look at his face for long. He asking her to give the envelope to her father. He is still waiting for her to take the envelope when she directly refuses to do anything for him. Thankfully, Harold knows how to get the job done, as he mentions her suffering people dying if she doesn't deliver this letter. Erica considers his words for a few minutes, contemplating if she has anything to lose by listening to him. She is aware that she can't exactly trust him, but takes the letter when he mentions that she can decide to trust him when she has seen the results. This sounds like a fair enough deal. Soon enough, Harold returns back home to be welcomed by Norman, who asks him to rest after his long trip. Well, Harold has no time for his concern, as he immediately jumps to business, inquiring about LP farming methods progress. It turns out that Norman has already explained it to the farmers, and his team has even managed to secure usable fields without any issue as well. It looks like they can begin trial in the next 10 days, therefore Harold asks him to continue listening to Jake, who has the brains for this entire scheme. He is surely glad that things seem to be progressing smoothly, with Norman conducting himself well behind the scenes. The good news is that his parents don't suspect anything yet, therefore it'll be fine to observe the Sumeragi family's circumstances for now. He knows that Erica would never disregard a chance to save her people who are suffering from miasma, and she will definitely hand the letter to Tasuku. The contents of the letter contain the compound item used to make antibiotics, and the range of the miasma contamination which he had estimated from a dungeon map, which might not solve the actual issue though. At any rate, this issue will surely motivate Erica to become the protagonist's ally. The main question is if Tasuku will actually trust the contents of some stupid letter written by a 10-year-old, and then make antibiotics as he planned out. He will have to come up with another way to approach her father if this little plan fails, while Erica taking the letter is enough for him currently. A few days later, Harold is training with a soldier who doesn't seem to take him seriously, which angers Harold to the next level. He ends up watching the soldier collapse in fear before even picking up his sword, concluding that it was a mistake to ask him to be an instructor after all. Of course, they are all scared of hurting him and getting punished by his father, so it all makes sense. He is worried about his combat techniques when Norman shows up to announce that he has a guest, and it seems like Erica has decided to pay him a visit. Harold immediately walks towards the visitor's waiting area, thinking about all the possible obvious that he's quite nervous about seeing her. The second he enters, the reason behind her visit is the first question he asks, which sounds a bit rude when a noble has a guest. Erica expected him to apologize for keeping her waiting, but it looks like it's a day of disappointments. Well, Harold surely believes that she should be thankful that he took out some time to meet her, making the girl agree that it is certainly her fault for showing up all of a sudden. She cuts to the chase, starting off with her expression of gratitude on behalf of her family as they have managed to save many of their citizens because of his letter. It's obvious that her father works a lot faster than Harold expected, but he maintains his arrogant personality in front of her, making some taunts about her family jumping at something like bootleg. Unfortunately, Erica maintains her composure even when he mentions some sort of compensation for his generosity. Plus, he tells her that the letter only contained a makeshift remedy, which can't serve as a fundamental solution and there might be side effects as well. It surely won't work on those with a serious condition, and he doesn't plan on caring for her people that much since he already has done enough. Erica agrees that his thought process is only natural because they were engaged for political reasons. As long as they grant her family some honor, the Stokes family would surely maintain face. However, she still can't stop thinking about how Harold went out of his way to help them out. It's still unbelievable that he made this medicine in such a short time, making her wonder about when exactly he decided to develop it. It's weird that he could achieve something that her family couldn't solve for such a long time, and reveals a letter that her father has sent for Harold. He begins reading the letter without even wasting a second, and it looks like Tasuku has expressed his sincere gratitude in at least 6 different ways. Updating him on the progress of the patients, he finally has a special request as he asks Harold to take care of Erica at the Stokes estate for the time being, while their family deals with these issues back home. It seems like Erica had no clue about her father's little request, agreeing that it will be a major inconvenience to Harold if she lives with him under the same roof. Anyhow, the coach she was sent here on has already returned though, and her only choice is to rely on his benevolence. Her smart reply makes Harold smile as he knows that she has got guts, but he declares that there is nothing honorable in fulfilling a one-sided request like this. This surely makes him look like a cold person who doesn't care about his fiancée. Therefore Erica prepares to leave after he complains about not being repaid well. Her awfully quick exit starts getting him worried though, and soon he is rolling through the town and the Stokes family coach. It is revealed that a few hours after Erica left his house, Harold's father informed him that Erica will be staying with them for a few weeks. Since it was his father's order, he couldn't possibly refuse, right? This bad feeling totally hit the nail on the head, fully aware that his letter has caused the dramatic change from the original story. He also reaches to pick her up by this time, where Erica introduces her attendant, as well. This new character is even more doubtful for him, making him decide that he will completely ignore these two and just let things pass by, instructing them to mind their own business. But his father has his own plans as he starts announcing his fiancée's arrival throughout their mansion. This public humiliation is too much for him to handle when Hayden gives him the responsibility of showing Erica around town the next day as well. He clearly had no choice but to get involved with her. A letter from Harold has arrived at the Sumeragi estate, which is quite suspicious for Tasuku, even though he believes that the Stokes family has nothing to gain since this letter hits towards their family's decline. This surely makes him wonder if someone else is pulling the strings, since nobody can imagine that this letter was written by that boy himself. The question is, who is the author of this letter? And it's clear that it might not be someone who wants to help the Sumeragi family out. It can possibly be someone close to the Stokes family who is willing to provide something Harold desires, or they have surely hypnotized the poor boy. Another way to look at it might be that it's a way to test the Sumeragi family, which doesn't make sense because they are already in a lot of trouble as of now. This indicates a strong possibility of the letter being truthful. Therefore Tasuku asks Kiryu to prepare the necessities at once, which will be used by the volunteers soon enough. Back at the Stokes mansion, it's dinner time, and it looks like their new guests are enjoying the delicious meal with the entire family. While Harold maintains a miserable expression, his mother immediately gets up to check for a fever, making him blush for being treated like a child in front of the guests. His parents share a laugh at his reaction when Harold turns the tables on them, mentioning that they should be the ones who are embarrassed for being such a lovey-dovey couple in front of their son. There is an awkward silence at the table, but they manage to get through this dinner soon. Back at her room, Erica mentions that her father thinks that Harold might be connected or is being used by them even though he doesn't look like someone who can be controlled by anyone else. Even though she hasn't found concrete proof against him, she knows that they need to get him to clarify this threat once and for all. At this point, Yuno is revealed to be a detective who is about to go find some clues about Harold's involvement. Apparently, Tasuku ordered Erica to rattle him during the day as well, but it didn't provide any results to them. Does this mean that he's being used as a puppet by someone? This investigation is surely going to take a bit of effort in order to uncover if there was any funny business going on around this mansion. Yunho has been going around town collecting information about the Stokes family who were quite arrogant, take profits from the commoners by taxes to fund their military, and nobody can start a riot because they will be killed for sure. This information is shocking for the detective until a strange guy whispers some information about Harold and her hair, which is a bit shocking for her. On the other hand, Harold and Erica are taking a tour of the town as well, even though he isn't quite familiar with the area yet. They go over to a shop where he buys a little token for the girl with him, which seemingly makes her cheeks turn red. He is aware that she has ignored the rumors about him killing Clara, but he is still hoping that she hates him spectacularly. This is when he thinks about Clara and Colette's safety, and his parents' anger if they ever find out that he is protecting them. They return home soon, where Harold takes a meeting with Jack who confirms that all 6 locations are undergoing favorable growth. The harvest might be according to expectations, which makes the boys suggest some possible expansions. Unfortunately, they lack the manpower for the expansions, even though Norman suggests that they can employ Arius and sex citizen inspectors. This suggestion might not be realistic, therefore Harold starts thinking about hiring people from the outside. For now, Jack needs to finish his report, so he continues to tell him that they have not witnessed any effect from the use of life potions. Plus, the chefs haven't reported any differences in tastes either, which doesn't sound like a bad report, but Harold still thinks that they aren't doing enough tests to make good judgments, instructing him to continue monitoring the progress. Meanwhile, Yuno has also returned from the town with her own report about the Stokes family, informing that her in-laws are quite unpopular among the citizens. She also shares the information about Harold, revealing that it seems like he used magic to burn Clara and Colette to ashes. This information is devastating for Erica, even though she knows about the ray of hope that he has found for her people. She is still in shock when Yuno promises to continue spying on him, instructing her to avoid being alone with Harold because they never know what he might do. The servants are gossiping about Erica being unwell since the day she went out with Harold. On the other hand, the boy is busy practicing his swordsmanship in the forest that he used during the Clara rescue operation. He can freely swing his blade, which makes him feel free, practicing the swift lightning technique a couple of times. Unfortunately, he still doesn't think that his magic is good enough, even though it's just newbie magic. But he's nowhere near a match for Harold in the original story. This is really unacceptable for him as he wants to match the person's strength in the game. Therefore he continues with his special training. He has no idea that Yuno has been watching him from a distance, and she has clearly witnessed something dreadful as she knows that he must be hiding a dreadful secret if he can't use sword techniques mixed with magic. The only way to find out if that's risky for them is to confront him. However, she might not survive if he decides to bare his fangs at her. Deciding that she doesn't stand a chance against him, the detective turns to leave so she can come back later. Before she can leave though, a sword passes right by her, and it looks like she has been discovered by Harold after all. She has no idea if she should run because he might have seen through her spying activities, and she probably can't lie her way out of this one, right? It seems like the sword slipped from Harold's hands by mistake, and he is scared that he has hurt the mysterious person so much that they can't move at all. Getting a bit closer, he discovers that it's Yuno, who immediately apologizes for peeping on him. Harold knows that there's nothing interesting about watching a kid play with a sword, but she doesn't seem to be hurt, so it's a relief. He advises her against looking around in the shadows, which makes her smile for not being discovered, but it's clearly a warning for her to stay away in the future too. She is clearly worried about being able to protect Erica at this rate because the boy in front of her had plenty of party and abilities. He doesn't sound like a puppet at all, and it feels like an utter defeat for the poor detective. Finishing the topic, Harold inquires about Erica, suggesting that she should probably return home if she's feeling so homesick. Yuno wishes that he would be kind towards his fiancée when he clearly spells out that he doesn't intend on being tied down by this relationship at all. Realizing that he has said too much, he leaves Yuno at her spot, but still thinks about how suspicious it is that Erica is still feeling so sick. There's something deeper behind her grief, and it looks like he's determined to find out what it is. Harold realizes that he left his sword back in the woods, hoping that Yuno doesn't take it, and runs to bring it back before it gets too dark. At this point, he spots Erica walking in the gardens, which makes him wonder if she's fine enough to move now. Maybe he should try taking her back to her room. Therefore he moves closer to her. Instead of inquiring about her health with kindness, he ends up insulting her, which makes him feel bad because she doesn't even reply to him, revealing that she can't be honest with him because she doesn't like him too much. Erica keeps standing firm on the ground without even blinking her eyes. Her reply makes him turn to leave until she stops him, finally asking if the rumors about him magically burning a servant are true. Deciding to clear up this misunderstanding, he lets her know that he killed his servant and her daughter because it doesn't make a difference, no matter how many servants he kills. The poor girl is left speechless while he continues to laugh about the murders he has done, mentioning that it's their fault for being born that way. His insensitive words are clearly too much to handle for Erica, who slaps him hard, accusing him of being the worst human ever before turning to leave. Later, Harold locks himself in his room and doesn't even play with Zen when he comes over to play for a bit. His friend can sense that something is wrong with him, but he refuses to share his feelings with anyone as always. Harold drags Zen out of his bedroom while he continues to ask questions, but it looks like a kid like him is not supposed to talk back. Finally alone, Harold realizes that he said some harsh words to Erica to make her leave, but he might have gone a little overboard. Maybe he should have taken it down a notch or two, taking her illness into consideration as well. He is evidently feeling too bad for projecting himself in such a negative light. However, he is also aware that he needs to maintain this nature without hesitating because this is exactly what he needs to do in the future. If he hesitates now, then it will just keep getting difficult with time. Hirasawa has been restlessly twisting and turning in his bed the entire night. Eventually, he manages to fall asleep and loses track of time. The sun rises to its peak, and the bright light wakes him up. He checks his clock and is shocked to see that he overslept and it is past noon. That slap for Erica yesterday seems to have caused heavy damage, and Hirasawa is still trying to recover. He rubs his face and takes a deep sigh. Everything is going exactly how he planned, so why is he still this bothered? He admits that someone playing the game would have been so happy to see the slap, because Harold did indeed deserve it. But things are different now that he gets to experience everything firsthand. The rumbling from his stomach forces him to leave his bed and head towards the dining room. Norman enters the room and asks his master if he's doing okay, given that he overslept and looks extremely fatigued. However, Hirasawa doesn't waste any time talking about himself, and gets straight to talking ooga booga about his business strategies. He discusses with Norman the means of spreading the LP farming method, like recruiting people from outside and increasing the workforce. His other idea is to demonstrate the benefits of the LP farming method to some merchants, and then sign a contract with them for its rights. His plan is simple. He wants to force merchants into buying the LP farming method, and then the merchants will resell it to farmers. The farmers will pay the contract fees to the merchants and use the LP farming method, and then the profits will be split between the inventor and the merchants. However, to secure talented merchants that they can use to come into contact with the farmers, they can't expect much from relying on a big company. Norman comments that they don't have any connections, so no company would pay attention to them if they were to suddenly make a proposal. Hirasawa sighs and agrees that even though his, Harold, parents have connections, they can't disclose their LP farming plan to them. Norman notices the look of frustration on Hirasawa's face, and reassures him that their plan will reach fruition. They just have to get into contact with trustworthy merchants, and for that, they will share their plan with Jake. Hirasawa nods his head and agrees to this course of action. Later that day, Zen spends at least 5 minutes knocking on Harold's door, but receives no response. He becomes concerned, so he enters the room without permission. It turns out, he really isn't in his room. It looks like Zen is quite attached to Harold, because he tries to get up earlier just so he can spend some moments with Harold-sama. He notices Erika sitting in the living room all by herself. He respectfully greets her and introduces himself. When asked why she isn't with Yuno today, Erika replies that she has gone out of town for a personal matter. Zen, like always, finds it impossible to mind his own business. He asks her if she decided to stay because she has some business with Harold. At hearing his name, the smile on Erika's face fades away. Zen is too dumb to take a hint, so he keeps on yapping about how he's worried about Harold overworking himself by constantly being busy lately. Erika doesn't respond and keeps glaring at him. After a couple of minutes, Zen eventually asks her if there is something wrong. Erika hesitates at first, but musters up the courage to ask him if the reason why he thinks so highly of Harold is because he's not aware that Harold used magic to murder a servant. Zen is caught off guard by that question. He scratches his head and stutters. He tells her that there are only rumors, and since they can't be sure whether those rumors are true, they shouldn't jump to conclusions like that. Erika raises her voice and states that Harold confirmed the rumors himself. She asks him how he could be so careless about the matter when it all happened in his presence. Zen freezes in his place when he realizes that he has yet again messed up. Erika takes a short pause and then asks him how she can blindly follow Harold like him. Her conscience would never allow her to accept Harold and forgive him after he has killed a human. He admits that even though she is his fiancée and wants to help her people for her father's sake, this is something that she can't overlook. As she says that, Harold has made her let go of only one option of becoming useful to the Sumeragi family. Tears start dripping from his eyes. She eventually gives in to her emotions and yells that the only thing on her mind is that she cannot bring herself to forgive him no matter what. Zen is like a deer in headlights. He is unable to speak or move. Eventually, Erika calms down and apologizes for showing unprofessional behavior despite being ignoble. She wipes her face and leaves the place. Zen just stands there and thinks about how similar Erika and Harold are. Harold saved the woman and her child, despite bearing the dishonor of being a murderer, whereas Erika is trying to swallow her true feelings for the sake of the Sumeragi people. Zen concludes that, given their similarities, there is no way these two should be allowed to go their separate ways while hating each other. Yet again, in his best attempt to help Harold, he is only going to mess up his plans. He believes that since these two possess the same strength and kindness, they should be able to show their true selves and support each other. Zen decides to let his intrusive thoughts win and he stops Erika. He requests her to follow him. Erika is as confused as us. In his inner monologue, he apologizes to Harold for what he's about to do. He claims that he's afraid that one day he will shatter into pieces and that he cannot tolerate such a sight. He clenches his fist and decides to go against his orders. He knows that he might lose Harold forever, but he is ready to accept that if it means getting rid of some of the thorns in Harold's path. He's decided that Harold absolutely needs Erika. His plan is basically to drag the girl to Harold's room and then lock it from the outside. He smiles mischievously as he executes his plan. He apologizes to Erika and promises her that he will be back in 5 minutes. Little did he know that he does not have even 5 minutes to carry out his plan. Harold casually passes Zen and opens the door to his room. Thankfully, Harold is clueless about the situation and asks Zen what he's doing outside of his room. Zen quickly takes his defensive stance as Harold looks like a furious cat that hasn't been fed. Apparently, Erika has managed to hide in Harold's closet, and her heart is throbbing like crazy as it will break out of her rib cage any time. Zen has pushed her into an embarrassing situation and escape seems impossible. Zen asks Harold where he has been all this time and the latter replies that he was simply eating in the dining room. Harold seems annoyed, so Zen cuts to the chase and asks him if he knows that the rumors of Clara have been spreading quite far. He claims that he went to the town shop earlier and all the shopkeepers and customers pestered him all about it. The conversation has piqued Erika's interest and she listens carefully. Zen continues by saying that he has not revealed anything to anybody, but this can take a shot at Harold's reputation. Harold takes a deep breath and says that the way Zen was panicking earlier, he thought he might have something important to say. Harold states that he does not consider this matter to be important because there is nothing that he can do about it. Zen already knows the answers to all the questions and he's not as stupid as we might think. He still asks Harold what the issue is and Harold finally reveals that he cannot announce to the public that Clara and Colette actually safely escaped to Blush Village and are still alive. The time stops momentarily for Erika and she realizes how judgmental she has been without even having any evidence. Harold adds that if by any chance his parents were to catch the wind of Clara being alive, he would become suspicious in their eyes. Zen asks the main question now. He asks her why he isn't willing to reveal the truth to his fiancée, who seems incredibly depressed over these rumors. Without wasting a second, Harold sharply responds that Erika must never find out. We know that the real reason is to avoid death flags while sticking to Harold's original storyline. Hirasawa decides to make up some reason because he knows that otherwise, Zen's kindness could lead to his downfall. Little does he know, Zen is 5 steps ahead of him. Harold states that since Erika started crying, after assuring that he had killed them, she is just going to be a liability for him. He claims that he doesn't want someone who sheds tears and sympathy for people who they don't even know. He says that her kind personality is a weakness because if she were to walk beside him, she would always be hurt. Zen tries his best to save the situation and asks him if he is deliberately keeping her at a distance because he is worried about her. He states that there is no way he would get married to some annoying girl who cries at literally everything. Zen refuses to give up just yet. He asks him the point of the entire engagement thing if marriage is not an option. Harold calls Zen a numbskull and explains that the engagement was bought with money. He then narrates how the miasma plagues the forest, which was pivotal to the Sumeragai's economy. Obviously, Hiroshima knows all these facts because he played the game. He knows that Harold's parents did not think twice about agreeing to the arrangement because they were desperate for their bloodline. Zen scratches his head and tries to use his brain cells that are already on life support. He asks Harold if it's okay with the Sumeragai family being utterly destroyed as a result of him breaking the engagement. Harold smiles and reveals that he has already taken measures to take care of that. When he visited the Sumeragai territory, he passed a letter to Tasuku through Erika. In the letter, he described a method to manufacture an antibody that is effective against the miasma. He also informed him about the necessary precautions. If the region is only lightly contaminated by the miasma, they can use the drug to possibly return their forest industry to normal. Along with that, he also plans to offer them the LP farming method technique. The surprising part for Erika is when Harold mentions that he talked about it in the letter too. As long as the antibody and the LP farming work out, Erika's family won't suffer from breaking off of the engagement. Now, the question is Erika fine with it? Zen's action has changed everything, but Hirasawa is not aware of that. With a devilish grin on his face, Harold advises Zen to sort out his future too because the Stokes family is headed towards a downfall. If he doesn't want to be unemployed, Harold suggests he should prepare for the worst-case scenario. This is because the heavy taxation and the excessive spending are getting out of hand now. Hirasawa starts to panic when he realizes that Harold has not given any thought to the Stokes citizens. Harold scoffs arrogantly. Of course, his plan covers everything. He has made sure nothing bad would happen to the citizens by requesting Sumeragai to take care of them if the Stokes were to fall. Tasuku is connected with the royal family, so he will act as a liaison for their support, to put in good words whenever possible. After finishing the entire story, he gives Zen a death stare and promises to kill him if he ever let words gets out. Zen sweats from head to toe while nodding his head. His eyes keep shifting towards the closet. Harold commands him to scram, but Zen has a knack for being annoying. He comes up with a great excuse to drag him out of his room so Erika can escape. Zen tells Harold that he has always had an interest in swordsmanship, so he would like to see him train. Harold refuses at first, but then realizes that he can use Zen to improve his skills. The typical devilish smile crawls on his face as he hands Zen a sword and tells him to run as fast as he can. As soon as the duo leaves the room, Erika comes out and finally breathes peacefully. She rushes towards her room while Harold's words float in his mind. She keeps thinking about Clara and Colette, tears of happiness well up in her eyes knowing that those two are safe. However, she decides that she wants to confirm this information and tells everything to Yuno. After Clara and Colette's situation, Erika tells Yuno that Harold's story about the antibody drug sounds believable, but she wants Yuno to confirm if it's really true. Yuno replies that creating a new drug in just a few days is impossible, and even after searching, She couldn't find any medical records or cases to support Harold's claim. In short, Harold's information seems suspicious, and they need to verify it. Erika starts piecing things together. She realizes that since her engagement with Harold was arranged years ago, Harold might have known about the Sumeragi family's crisis long before it became public. She thinks about how he created a drug to save her family, even though he had no reason to care about them. As she clenches her fist, she reflects on how Harold once said helping her wouldn't matter, but now she sees that developing such a drug must have taken him an enormous amount of effort and time. This makes her question her assumptions about him even more. Yuno reflects on something strange. Harold is strong and skilled enough that he should have easily sensed her spying earlier, yet he acted as if he didn't notice her hiding in the room. She wonders if that was intentional. Erika listens silently as Yuno suggests that maybe Harold wanted Erika to overhear what he said, but she can't understand why he would do that. Yuno, meanwhile, begins imagining Harold's potential, thinking that if he grows up, he could create incredible schemes. The idea actually excites her, showing that her suspicion is turning into admiration for his cleverness. Yuno keeps thinking about Harold and realizes she can't tell whether she should admire him or be afraid of him. His intelligence and unpredictable actions make her uneasy, yet impressed. As she reflects on everything he has done, she concludes that Harold is a scary person not because he's evil, but because his potential and plans are far beyond what she expected from a child at his age. Harold thinks back to the slap Erika gave him. It's already been 3 weeks since then. But he pushes the memory aside because he's too busy searching for a business partner or company for his LP farming plans. Meanwhile, Erika and Yuno are still staying at the Stokes estate. He comments that it has already been about a month since they first arrived, and he wonders when they'll finally return home. Harold is in his room when a servant knocks and asks to enter. After Harold allows him in, the servant bows politely and informs him that his father is calling for him. Harold looks surprised, not knowing what his father could want. Harold's father tells him that Erika's condition has been getting worse, and because Yuno requested it, Erika and Yuno will be returning to the Sumeragi household. Harold acts relieved, thinking it's good he won't have to see Erika's face anymore. But his father suddenly adds that Harold will be going with them. Harold is caught off guard, while his father looks amused and very pleased with this decision. Harold is shocked when his father orders him to stay at the Sumeragi estate for a while. His father claims this will strengthen their relationship, since Erika is his fiancée. Harold panics, wondering why he has to do something so troublesome. His father then teases him, saying Harold needs to treat his future wife properly and show sincerity. He also reminds Harold that Erika is important to the Sumeragi family, making it sound like Harold has a duty to care for her. Harold is left flustered and miserable while his father enjoys watching his reaction. Harold freaks out when his father mentions sincerity, realizing his father just wants proof that he's getting along with Erika. He's frustrated because he wanted to avoid her as much as possible. Harold troubled, thinking something about this situation isn't good. Harold complains to himself, comparing dealing with Erika to stepping on a landmine. One wrong move and everything could blow up. Harold pauses and starts thinking more strategically. Even though he doesn't want to go to the Sumeragi estate, he realizes this trip might actually be useful. If he talks to the Sumeragi family, he could use the opportunity to promote and expand the LP farming method. Originally, he planned to sell the LP farming technique only after more testing, but since the Sumeragi family is influential, this could speed things up. However, he also realizes that right now might not be the best timing, because of the Sumeragi family's current troubles. Still, the potential benefit makes him reconsider. Harold finally makes up his mind. He decides that going to the Sumeragi estate is actually the best option, since it could help him spread the LP farming method. Convinced it will work, he tells his father he'll go and even volunteers to leave immediately. His sudden enthusiasm shocks his father, who laughs and assumes Harold and Erika must already be getting along better than expected. Harold confidently declares that no matter where he goes, he'll handle things, though in reality, he's just motivated by his business plans, not romance. The scene shifts to Broche Village, a peaceful rural area surrounded by mountains and forests. Someone arrives at the village gate and politely asks a local resident a question. The villager, a bit cautious, responds and asks what the visitor wants. A man visiting Broche Village tells a villager that he's searching for someone. With a friendly smile, he reveals the name he's looking for, Clara Ameller, the same Clara whom Harold secretly helped escape. The scene shifts to a peaceful countryside area. Someone, most likely Clara, stands outside a small home, humming cheerfully while doing laundry. She hangs clothes on a line under the calm sky. Clara finishes hanging the laundry and steps back with a small satisfied sigh, saying that the chores are done for now. She looks relaxed and peaceful, enjoying the calm moment outside her home. Clara enjoys the gentle breeze as she carries the laundry basket back. She pauses and reflects quietly, realizing that it has already been 5 months since she came to this village. Even now, her peaceful life feels almost unreal to her, like a dream she's still not fully convinced she's allowed to have. Clara recalls the day she was supposed to be executed by the feudal lord, her final, hopeless moment. She remembers how she had accepted that her life would end there. But then, someone unexpectedly reached out and saved her. That savior, she reflects, was a young boy only about a year older than her daughter, Harold. Clara thinks about Harold again, wondering what he's been doing since the day he saved her. But she quickly scolds herself, shaking her head, because she knows she shouldn't get involved with the Stokes family anymore. She reminds herself that if anyone discovered she was still alive, it would cause Harold serious trouble, and she doesn't want to repay his kindness with harm. Just as she's lost in thought, someone calls out to her with a cheerful, "Morning, Clara." It snapped her back to the present. Clara greets Leona, who asks if she has seen her son, Liner. Clara explains that Liner went with Colette to the ranch to buy milk. Leona instantly guesses as much and laughs, saying she expected that answer. Clara apologizes because Liner always ends up bringing back their milk too, but Leona doesn't mind at all. She says that since her son dreams of joining the chivalric order, he needs all the physical training he can get, so carrying heavy loads is good for him. Leona waves goodbye, joking that Clara should keep training Liner hard from now on. Clara laughs awkwardly and tells her she'll see her later. Once Leona leaves, Clara relaxes and thinks about preparing the cookies she baked yesterday. She wants to have them ready for when Liner and Colette return from the ranch. A man approaches Clara with a friendly smile and directly asks if she is Clara Ameller. Clara is startled by the sudden question. Her expression shows confusion and worry. She doesn't understand how the stranger found her or why he's looking for her. The man gets straight to the point. He asks Clara if she knows anything about Harold Stokes, catching her completely off guard. He explains that rumors have been spreading in the Stokes territory, rumors claiming Harold murdered a servant. He wants to know her opinion on whether those rumors are true. Clara is shocked and confused. She never expected someone to confront her about Harold, and the accusation leaves her stunned. Clara panics internally. She wonders who this man is and why he's asking about Harold. For a moment, she fears he might have been sent by the Stokes family, but realizes that if that were true, he would have attacked her the moment he confirmed her identity. She considers other possibilities but stays cautious. Not wanting to risk exposing Harold or herself, she nervously insists that she knows nothing and asks the man to leave. The man simply smiles and says he'll come by again, leaving Clara tense and unsettled. Clara's fear escalates as she imagines the worst. If the feudal lord has become suspicious about what really happened, Harold could be accused or even executed, just like she once was meant to be. The image of Harold standing before an executioner flashes in her mind, and panic grips her. Overwhelmed, Clara clasps her hands tightly and prays desperately. She begs God to keep Harold safe, terrified that the boy who saved her life might now be in danger because of her. Clara's desperate prayer continues. She begs for Harold's safety, hoping that somehow he'll be protected from whatever danger might be closing in on him. The scene then shifts away from her and back to the Sumeragi estate. Erika and Yuno have just returned home, and someone greets them warmly at the entrance. Tasuku greets them warmly, welcoming them home and thanking them for their long trip. He tells Harold that he'll be shown to his room soon and suggests he take a break for now. As Harold starts to walk off, he suddenly calls out to Tasuku, catching his attention. Harold pulled Tasuku aside with his usual harsh tone, insisting he had something important to say, and told Tasuku to fit it into his schedule later. Annoyed, Harold realized he only used polite speech when father and mother were watching. Tasuku suggested meeting tomorrow evening since he was busy for the rest of the day. Although Harold thought it would definitely irritate him with this tone of speech, but Tasuku accepted his proposal without issue. Harold agreed as well. Harold watched Tasuku walk away, surprised that he hadn't gotten angry at all. Tasuku's calmness felt exactly like the version Harold remembered from the story. Nearby, Yuno quietly observed him, her expression unreadable. When Tasuku continued down the hall, Yuno approached him and called out, asking for a moment of his time. Yuno quietly handed Tasuku her written report, an update on the Stokes territory and Harold's situation. Tasuku accepted it with his usual calm, thanking her and saying he would read it later. As he walked off, she watched his back, relieved her task was finally done but still carrying the weight of the news she brought. Yuno reflected on her investigation, realizing she had uncovered nothing useful since that day. Every attempt to approach Harold's close servants had been blocked, each of them slipping away with excuses or forced politeness. It only confirmed how tightly Harold controlled the flow of information around him. Still, she'd managed to extract a little from Zen, though even that wasn't much. With a frustrated sigh, she admitted to herself that Harold was far more guarded than she expected. Yuno reviewed the investigators' findings, noting that Harold's movements often led him to the agricultural sector, yet no one had been able to uncover what he was doing there. The farmers were tightly bonded, making it difficult for outsiders to learn anything. Realizing how hard it would be to infiltrate such a close-knit group, she concluded they would need more time before making any real progress. As she reviews her thoughts, she hears someone calling out to her. She turns and notices the man returning unexpectedly quickly. Surprised, she comments on how fast he showed up, almost like he appeared the moment she mentioned him. With a light smile, she asks if he managed to find the person he was looking for. The young man reports that Clara Ameller is indeed living in Bloche village. When Yuno asks whether he failed to meet her, he clarifies that he did speak with her directly. Clara clearly knew Harold, but she refused to say anything about the rumored incident, offering no confirmation or denial. Hearing this, Yuno takes in the information calmly, though the lack of progress is noticeable. Hearing that Clara refused to speak, Yuno lets out a small sigh, accepting that she has no other choice. With a calm, almost playful resolve, she decides she will go meet Clara personally. Her steps are light as she turns toward the courtyard, her long sleeves swaying, already prepared to handle the matter herself. Behind her, the young man watches in quiet obedience, ready to follow her lead. Harold waits while drinking tea and notes that Tasuku is late. As he reads, he recalls that the LP farming method originally came from the game and was intended to slow the decline of the Stokes family. Harold reflects on the situation, thinking that if the crisis-stricken Sumeragi family learned about the LP method, they would definitely seize the chance. He remembers that in a year, Reiner will clear the miasma, but before that, having Tasuku on his side would let them support Reiner from the shadows. That's why Harold sent Tasuku a letter, choosing a different path from the original game so he can avoid his death flags. Harold reviews the LP farming prototype and realizes it's still too flawed to spread widely. Without better results, Tasuku won't be convinced to cooperate, and the original story's events will proceed unchanged. Labor shortages also slow down progress, making improvements even harder. Harold steels himself, realizing he must speak up now if he wants to avoid triggering his death flag. Determined not to fail, he prepares to present his plan clearly and confidently. Tasuku arrives late due to extra work, but he thanks Harold sincerely. The antibiotic Harold made has already helped people. Harold brushes off the gratitude, insisting he didn't do it for praise. Tasuku hesitates, unable to lift his head, insisting he can't accept being treated so casually after everything that has happened. Even so, he admits the truth. The situation truly improved because of the Harold's actions. Hearing that, Harold crosses his arms with a sigh, tossing out sharp, mocking words, calling him worthless and telling him to feel ashamed for having to bow to a child. Tasuku can only smile helplessly, murmuring that he has no response to give, while the boy prepares to scold him further. Tasuku tells Harold that he's happy to meet someone with such talent. Harold immediately pushes the conversation forward and tells Tasuku to cooperate with him. Tasuku, a bit surprised, wonders why he jumped straight to the point so quickly. Harold hands Tasuku a document and tells him to read it first. He doesn't want to waste time testing each other. Tasuku looks through the papers and finds the title, LP Farming Method. The document explains prototype results of crops grown using life potions, surprising him as he realizes how unusual and advanced this idea is. Tasuku reads Harold's report and is shocked. The LP farming method produces double the crop yield compared to traditional farming. Harold smirks confidently as Tasuku realizes just how impressive the results truly are. Tasuku admits the results seem unbelievable, but because Harold already proved himself with the antibiotics, he's willing to listen. Even if the method sounds too good to be true, Harold's past achievements make it worth hearing out. Tasuku realizes that just seeing the document is already valuable to him. Harold says he doesn't mind and offers him a copy since it isn't the original. Yuno's reports say that the boy isn't being controlled by anyone, he acts entirely on his own will. After speaking with him, the man realizes it's impossible for someone to manipulate a child to such an advanced degree. He's convinced the boy is acting independently. He reviews Yuno's report and concludes the boy is acting on his own, not being controlled. After speaking with him directly, he's convinced the kid's too skilled to be manipulated. Still, he wonders if the boy's attitude is just a setup for the real negotiation. Tasuku worries that refusing the negotiation could be dangerous. He wonders whether Harold is hiding something about the LP farming method, or if there's another intention behind giving them the manuscript so easily. In the end, he decides to continue listening and try to understand Harold's true motives. Harold tells Tasuku to accept his offer or the negotiation can't continue. Tasuku agrees but is confused about what Harold means.
Harold then asks him what he thinks if everything in the LP farming document is true. Tasuku praises the invention and says they can start producing it if it works well, then eventually spread it across the country. Tasuku asks, surprised, whether Harold won't try to monopolize it. Tasuku explains that monopolizing LP farming would only create enemies in future conflicts, so he believes it's wiser to spread it rather than hoard it. Harold agrees and says Tasuku's answer passes. Harold tells Tasuku he has a proposal to make. Tasuku stays calm and politely says he's willing to listen. Harold dramatically points at him and tell him, Tasuku, I'll have you become the joint developer of LP farming. Harold tells Tasuku that from now on, when the LP farming method spreads, it will be under the Sumeragi family name. Tasuku is confused because Harold isn't part of Sumeragi research, so he wonders why not the Stokes family instead? Then Tasuku begins to suspect that Harold has been hiding his real abilities from his parents, because Harold's behavior now is completely different compared to before. Tasuku realizes something important. If Harold's parents truly knew how talented Harold was, they would have bragged about him during the engagement meeting. But they didn't. That means Harold's excellence and knowledge aren't coming from his parents, they're unknown even to them. Tasuku then connects this with the letter Harold gave him, which mentioned the Stokes family's decline. Putting everything together, he finally acknowledges Harold is acting completely on his own, hiding his abilities from his family. Tasuku asks Harold if telling his parents about the LP farming method is a bad idea. Tasuku realizes Harold understands very well how greedy and controlling his parents are. If they learned about LP farming, they would definitely try to monopolize it. So Harold is intentionally keeping the method away from the Stokes family to avoid trouble. Harold explains that if he involves more farmers, the tests will become less reliable, and he also doesn't have enough pawns to manage everything. Tasuku accepts this explanation with an I see. Tasuku asks, why choose me? Anyone would want this deal. Harold answers, among the people who qualify, you're simply the easiest to handle. He insults him, but it's just Harold's usual attitude. He adds that if Tasuku refused, he'd pick someone else. But he knows Tasuku won't refuse. Tasuku is shocked because Harold says, a loser like you wouldn't be able to help it. Tasuku realizes Harold must be confident he will accept the proposal. Harold wouldn't speak this boldly without having already cornered him logically. Tasuku thinks, he must have already blocked my escape route somehow, but when did he do that? In other words, Harold set things up so cleverly that Tasuku has no real way to refuse, and Tasuku is only now realizing it. Tasuku suddenly realizes something. The letter, the antibiotics, and the defensive line against the miasma, all of those major breakthroughs came from Harold before. He finally connects the dots. Harold had been preparing everything and pushing the Sumeragi family into a position where they wouldn't be able to refuse him. Harold then taunts him with, realized it yet? Meaning, you finally figured out that I've been guiding everything to trap you into accepting my offer. Tasuku reading Harold's letter. The letter says that Tasuku and his wife were forced to sacrifice their daughter, just to get economic help, and that the engagement must have been painful for them. It shows that Harold understands their suffering and is acknowledging the burden they carried for their family's sake. Tasuku reads Harold's letter, which exposes the dark reality of the Stokes family. They overtax their citizens. They waste that money on extravagant luxuries. Because of this, the people will eventually revolt. Harold then tells Tasuku that the Stokes family is headed for destruction, and that the only way to protect Erika, Tasuku's daughter, engaged to Harold, is to cooperate with him. It's basically Harold saying, my family is doomed, but I'm giving you a way to save your daughter. This page shows Harold's written proposal to Tasuku. In the letter, Harold lists 3 conditions that the Sumeragi family must follow. Make the antibiotic he described and use it to treat people suffering from the miasma. Set up a defensive line in the area most affected by the miasma. Use the industrial technique he will teach them soon to help restore their economy. Harold explains that if they follow these steps, the Sumeragi family will be able to rebuild their territory without relying on the Stokes family. Tasuku realizes Harold's plan is extremely strategic and well thought out. Harold tells Tasuku that all the help he promised, the antibiotics, the defensive line plan, and the industrial techniques, will only be given if Tasuku agrees to break Harold's engagement with Erika. Tasuku realizes. So this industrial technique offer mentioned in the letter, this is what Harold meant. And the LP farming method is part of that deal. Basically, Harold is revealing the real price of his cooperation, and the engagement.
Tasuku realizes Harold predicted everything from the start. Harold insults him as usual, loser, but the point is, Tasuku now understands Harold deliberately crafted the offer so that Tasuku would have no choice but to accept. Tasuku sees that Harold blocked every escape route in the negotiation, used the antibiotics letter and the miasma defense plan to push him into a corner. So Tasuku asks the real question: why are you going this far to help the Sumeragi family? He wants to know Harold's true motive. Tasuku was confused because Harold claims that even if he explained his motives, Tasuku wouldn't understand. Harold is bluffing to maintain superiority, but Tasuku realizes something important. Harold has already manipulated the situation so that Tasuku has no option but to accept the proposal. Tasuku begins piecing together Harold's earlier actions, the letter, the conditions, the way Harold blocked every possible escape route. He now understands that Harold planned everything from the start so Tasuku would be forced to agree. Harold pressuring him saying, "If you can't trust me, this discussion is over. What will you do?" Tasuku is thinking carefully about Harold's proposal. He realizes that, even after everything Harold has done, Harold is still leaving the final decision to him. Tasuku understands that if he accepts, the Sumeragi citizens, the Sumeragi family, and Erika herself can all be saved. The image of Erika shows what's motivating him, her future and well-being. Tasuku finally understanding the weight of the decision and realizing that Harold truly put the choice in his hands, even though Harold pushed him hard during negotiation. If he refuses Harold's offer, the Sumeragi family will still rely on the Stokes family, and Harold will be forced to stay engaged to Erika. In that case, all of Harold's effort to spread LP farming will become pointless. Harold would suffer the biggest loss. But if Tasuku accepts, then the Sumeragi family, its people, and Erika's future can all be saved. Despite how much Harold stands to lose, Harold still presented everything as a negotiation, giving Tasuku a genuine choice. Tasuku realizes, this is not a simple decision at all. Tasuku accepts Harold's proposal. He says he'll go through with it. Harold is satisfied and tells him to gather the people who will participate. Harold will teach them the LP farming method over the next few days so they can start working on the Sumeragi fields. Harold tells Tasuku that in a few years, he'll need a large, trustworthy company to help spread the LP farming method while keeping it secret. Tasuku quickly understands Harold's long-term plan: first stabilize results, then partner with a big company to expand and eventually market the method. Harold smirks and praises Tasuku, saying he's smarter than the pawns he usually deals with. Tasuku respectfully asks Harold if he needs anything else. Since they've officially agreed to work together, Tasuku promises he will prepare anything Harold wants, without hesitation. Harold pauses, thinking. This is because he didn't expect Tasuku to be this cooperative, and now he's considering whether there's something important he should request next. Harold tells Tasuku that if he wants to help him with anything, then what he needs is to be introduced to someone strong. While he stays with the Sumeragi family, Harold plans to train and gain as much combat experience as possible. He's thinking about how vital strength will be for his future, so he wants a powerful mentor or sparring partner arranged by the Sumeragi family. We see Harold is soaking in the Sumeragi hot spring and feeling totally restored. He thinks about how this kind of luxurious bath doesn't exist in the Stokes territory, so this is one of the few moments he can truly relax. It shows how much he appreciates the Sumeragi lifestyle. Harold is relaxing in the Sumeragi hot springs, feeling great. He's proud that everything with Tasuku went smoothly, the alliance worked, he got a sparring partner, and his plans are advancing perfectly. While enjoying the bath, sakura petals fall, adding to the peaceful mood. Then he decides it's time to move on to his next task. The scene changed to Yuno. Yuno reports that she has been secretly investigating Harold for a long time, following Erika's orders. Tasuku was surprised because he didn't know Erika had asked anyone to look into Harold. Erika reports to her father that she investigated Harold because of disturbing rumors, specifically, the rumor that Harold killed a servant and her child. She apologizes for using spies without permission, but explains she had to confirm whether that rumor was true or not. Her father acknowledges that he heard those rumors being spread in the Stokes territory, but he doesn't know the truth yet. Yuno reports the results of her investigation. The rumor that Harold murdered a servant and her child is likely false. Erika had spies verify the truth, and with Yuno's help they confirmed that the circulating story was inaccurate. The mother and child are still alive, so the rumor is unreliable. Yuno explains that the servant mother and her child rumored to have been killed by Harold are actually alive. She tracked them down in a small village called Bloch, where they are living quietly under another noble. The woman didn't change her name, so Yuno could find her easily by speaking with villagers. However, the woman refused to talk about the incident that created the rumor. So Yuno goes to visit the mother, Ameller-san, and child who were rumored to have been murdered by Harold. She knocks on the door and politely asks if they are home. The woman comes to the door, surprised, and asks who she is. Yuno visits the woman, Ameller, to investigate the old rumor about Harold. She politely introduces herself as a Sumeragi messenger and hints that her questions involve Harold. Ameller immediately realizes this must be connected to the incident from long ago. Yuno also confirms that the rude subordinate who visited earlier was part of the same investigation. Yuno is explaining to the servant mother what's happening with Harold and Erika's engagement. She tells her that many people in the Sumeragi family oppose the marriage because of the rumors that Harold murdered a servant and her child. When the woman hears this, she becomes extremely emotional because she is the servant from the rumor, and she knows Harold didn't kill her. Yuno explains that Harold is letting everyone believe the false rumor that he killed a servant and her child. Even though the rumor isn't true, he acts as if he's guilty because it helps him maintain his harsh, villain-like persona. Because of that, the citizens dislike and fear him, and even though he behaves normally on the outside, he's actually mentally exhausted from carrying that burden alone. Yuno tells the woman that she doesn't plan to publicly reveal the truth about the incident, but if the woman is willing to tell her what really happened, Yuno can secretly gather people who will support Harold. She then asks the woman to help her save Harold. The woman becomes emotional, realizing how much Harold has been suffering, and whispers his name. Yuno tells the woman that she understands why the woman is hesitant to talk. Something painful clearly happened between her and Harold. The woman starts crying and blames herself, because of me. Yuno gently reassures her that she already took that into account and still came to ask for her help because Harold is suffering under the false rumors. Yuno wants the woman to share the truth privately so they can help Harold. Yuno tells the woman that even if discovering the truth may hurt her, she still wants to help Harold and Erika. She asks the woman to share what really happened. The woman, emotional and hesitating, begins to agree, saying she will tell the truth. The woman realizes that even though Harold's harsh actions hurt her in the past, he was actually trying to protect her. Because of that, she decides she doesn't want to stay powerless anymore. She tells Yuno that she also wants to help Harold however she can, instead of just being someone he protected. Erika's father learns that after the servant accidentally injured Harold, Hayden, Harold's father, ordered her executed. To save her, Harold pretended he would use her as a test subject, locked her away temporarily to keep her safe, and then secretly arranged her escape. Harold even provided her with money, goods, a wagon, and a new place to live so she and her daughter could survive safely. Yuno explains that Harold accepted the false stigma of being a murderer on purpose, to protect the servant mother and her child. If the truth that he helped them escape became known, it would put them in danger again. Erika realizes Harold has been carrying this burden alone to protect innocent people, and she becomes emotional. She quietly gets up to leave, overwhelmed by what she has learned. Tasuku stops her, asking where she plans to go. Erika feels guilty for how she treated Harold. She never tried to understand him, acted on her emotions, and even struck him once. Now that she knows the truth, she wants to apologize properly, even if Harold might never forgive her. She feels she must at least do that. But before she can act, her father stops her and says he cannot allow that. Tasuku explains to Erika that Harold chose to accept the bad rumors about himself in order to protect the servant woman and her child who escaped. If people learned the truth, they might be in danger again. Therefore, now that Erika and the others know the truth, their responsibility is not to reveal it, but to protect Harold's secret. Tasuku tells her that if Harold finds out the truth was shared with someone he can't trust yet, he might withdraw even more. He understands why Erika wants to apologize, but warns her that she can't act recklessly. Erika is crying because she feels guilty. She wants to apologize to Harold, but Tasuku tells her to think carefully. Is she apologizing because she truly understands her mistake, or just to make herself feel better? He explains that blindly apologizing won't help Harold, and might even hurt him. This makes Erika panic. If she can't fix things by apologizing, she doesn't know what she should do. Erika is upset because she treated Harold badly without knowing the truth. She wants to apologize to him, but her father tells her that apologizing might actually make things worse, since Harold is hiding the truth to protect someone. Instead, he suggests that she should support Harold and stay close to him, because he tends to isolate himself due to his strength and burdens. Realizing this, Erika feels guilty because she had misunderstood Harold, judged him harshly, and even struck him. She wants to apologize, but her father explains that doing so might expose the truth Harold is trying to protect. Instead, he tells her the best way to make amends is to support Harold, understand him, and stay close to him, because he is brilliant but isolated, and needs someone who truly understands him. Erika accepts this and decides she will help Harold however she can. Erika's father explains that because Harold is extremely talented, he doesn't really need friends even though he needs allies. This means that even Erika, his fiancée, may not easily reach his heart no matter how much she tries. Erika is shocked, realizing that winning Harold's trust and affection will be very difficult. Erika listens as her father explains that apologizing isn't what Harold needs. Instead, he asks her whether she has the resolve to believe in Harold and support him, even though he's difficult to understand and may never show affection back. Erika is overwhelmed by the question. Her father adds that she should still apologize for hitting Harold, but she doesn't need to decide anything yet, she can choose after watching Harold more closely. Erika leaves the room quietly, thinking deeply about everything she just heard. Yuno lets out a breath of relief. Erika's parents talk. The father says this is just part of growing up, but the mother corrects him. Erika isn't depressed for the same reason as before. Instead of simply disliking the engagement, this time she's troubled because she genuinely wants to help Harold and is struggling with her feelings. Her father comments that this is how children grow. Erika is clearly maturing through her struggles and feelings about Harold. Her mother points out that Erika looked disappointed when the engagement was decided, but now she looks sad for the opposite reason. They both acknowledge that their daughter is changing, and her feelings for Harold are becoming stronger. Harold gets out of the carriage with a serious expression. The butler accompanying him says, "We've arrived." They've reached the destination where Harold plans to train and gain combat experience. Harold arrives at his destination, a large martial arts temple in the Sumeragi territory. This place is famous for training people in many skills like archery, swordsmanship, and magic, and people of all ages come here every day to practice. Harold confused and irritated, so he asks, "Why is this girl here?" Erika hesitates, unsure what to say. Itsuki explains that Harold's opponent kept asking him to bring Erika, so he finally gave in and brought her. Harold still doesn't understand why any of this was necessary, but since the explanation is vague, he just decides, well, whatever, I'll just ignore it. Erika stays quiet, nervous and unsure how Harold feels about her being there. Harold has finished changing into training clothes. Itsuki notices he put them on correctly and asks if someone taught him how. Harold brushes it off and asks where his opponent is. Itsuki replies that the opponent is already here. Erika's older brother sees her and immediately gets excited. He runs over and hugs her tightly, clearly very happy to see her again. He tells her she looks even more beautiful than before and starts talking non-stop, asking if she's been eating properly and mentioning that he brought souvenirs for her. He also says he was extremely lonely without her, so lonely he couldn't sleep. Meanwhile, Erika is being squeezed so hard that she can barely breathe and desperately asks him to let her go. Harold sees the boy he is supposed to fight, and is shocked. He expected a strong adult, not a kid. He complains to Itsuki, saying he asked for a powerful opponent. Itsuki insists that he is extremely strong, despite his appearance. Harold refuses to believe it because the boy looks too young. But then that boy points out that Harold himself is also a kid, so Harold's logic applies to him too. Meanwhile, Erika is recovering after being hugged too tightly by his brother. Itsuki introduces himself to Harold, saying he's Erika's older brother. Harold introduces himself very plainly in return. Itsuki then points out that Harold left out something important, his engagement to Erika. He grabs Harold's sleeve and reminds him directly, "You're Erika's fiancé, right?" Itsuki suddenly becomes overwhelmingly excited after Harold introduces himself properly. In his mind, he's thinking dramatically, "My wonderful little sister's fiancé." He is thrilled beyond reason. Then he lunges at Harold, grabbing his shoulders and shaking him intensely in excitement.